Hi guys, and welcome to A Beginner's Guide to Modding Skyrim, Part 3. Now, if you have been following the series so far and you've done everything I have suggested, you now have a game that is fairly well set up for modding. You've got the unofficial patches installed, you have a nice map, you have a much improved user interface, and you have the MCM, the mod configuration menu, installed. And of course, more importantly, you have a good basic knowledge of how to mod Skyrim. But your game is not really that modded yet. You may be feeling a little underwhelmed. And so what we're going to be doing from now on is introducing you to the types of mods that you can install, showing you the best ways to install them, the pitfalls of doing so, and so on. And I'm going to start with the visuals of Skyrim. Let's be honest, it's probably one of the biggest reasons people get attracted to modding. They see the modded game and how it can look, they see their own vanilla game and think, no, I want my game to look like that. So, where to start? Well, as you may have already guessed from the title of this video, we're going to start by modding the water. Now that may come as a surprise to some people because, in actual fact, people often don't notice the water in Skyrim. It surrounds them, it's everywhere, but they never really look at it. But if you do look at it, it's not particularly high quality, the flow is a little off, and it just doesn't look all that nice. Compare it to this. This is the Pure Waters mod, and as you can see, not only is the texture of the water far higher quality, but it's clearer, cleaner, the flow's a little softer, a little bit more natural, just all round a great improvement. And there are actually quite a few water mods out there, including a really popular one called w.a.t.e.r, as you can see here, and this improves the water in different ways. It is not as lightweight as Pure Waters, as in it's a larger mod, it changes more things and it adds new features, including things like waves on the shorelines of Skyrim, which can be pretty impressive. But in actual fact, it would be very difficult to point at one mod and say that is the best. Everyone has their own favourite, but even then most people acknowledge that one water mod looks better in one place and the other in the next place, and so on. And so what we're going to do in this video is not just install one water mod. We are going to install two. Not at the same time, although in actual fact you can do that. I would not recommend you do that, at least not yet. We're going to install water and we're going to install Pure Waters, and we're going to try them out ourselves. And the reason for that is not only do I want you to see the differences and make your own mind up, I also want you to get used to the idea of trying mods out, putting them in, seeing what they do, uninstalling them, trying a new mod. I want you to become comfortable with the process. And we're also going to discuss potential problems that can occur when uninstalling mods and how to mitigate those, how to reduce the chances of actually getting any problems. Okay, so let's get on with installing these mods. We are going to install the water mod first, however I'm going to download both mods at the same time, may as well get it all out of the way. Go along to the Nexus page for water and click on the File tab. You can actually just hit download NMM up here and it will go straight to it. However, just want to have a look at the files. There is one main file. I'm going to hit download with manager on that. It is quite large, it contains a few different versions of the mod, it contains some options, and it presents a nice little installer program, an installer menu for you, so you can pick which options you want. As you can see, it's fairly large. I have a very fast download, and yet it's still taking quite some time. Go to Pure Waters, file section. Now this one has a main file, which you are going to need, but if you're using Dawnguard or Dragonborn, or both, you're going to need the respective files. Now I have both of those DLCs, so I'm going to hit download on all three. That means I'm going to get 4 files. Water's finished downloading already. And there you go. It's downloaded them all and added them to my Nexus mod manager. So all my files have downloaded. Going to install the water mod now. Hit the activate key. And a few seconds later, you'll get this nice little menu. It gives you some options. I like the reduced splash. I also like the watery rocks option. This makes the rocks that you find around and in the river wet. I think that's a really nice, realistic option. The animated trough water does exactly what it says. It makes the water in blacksmith troughs animate, which is pretty nice. If you like the idea of having plants and lily pads and things like that in your water, add that. And this one adds ice normal maps, which used to be a separate mod. I've not actually tried it out, so why not? The next option is fairly important. Do you want high resolution or medium resolution? Probably if you've got a good machine and a little performance to spare, you're going to want the high resolution. Now, for some mods that we're going to install in future videos, there are going to be some trade-offs here. High resolution textures obviously demand more from your system, and there is a limit. There is a limit. So you want to consider carefully which textures you're going to use, the very high resolution, the slightly high resolution, and so on. I'm going to cover that in a lot more detail in the next video. But for this mod, I actually recommend the high resolution. If you do have performance issues, reinstall the mod with medium. Don't worry, uninstalling and reinstalling with new options is very easy. Click next. Now the next option is only really applicable if you have got the Dragonborn DLC, and you should get that. It's a really good DLC. But that mod adds waves to the island of Solstheim, and if you have that, you are going to, at the very least, want to activate this so that water changes the water around that island. But you can also select this option instead, and what it will actually do is it will actually put waves onto certain places in Skyrim, which is very nice, as you saw in the video earlier. So then you hit next, and he wants you to acknowledge that you've actually read the description and so on. You should do that. You should read all the information you can about all of the mods you install. I have obviously read those pages several times. You should probably do it before you install. I would recommend that, because you never know. Something may have changed since I made this video. And then finish, and it will start to install. Now, this is something you probably won't see. You, at this point, haven't got that many mods installed. But if you've been adventurous and installed some other mods, you may get a message like this. And what is happening now is the mod is trying to put some new textures in, specifically for water. And it's detecting that I've already got some new textures put in by another mod, the Skyrim HD 2K textures mod to be precise. And it's saying, do you want me to overwrite it? Now, in this case, yes, definitely. I want my textures to look like the ones from this mod. So I'm going to select yes to mod. It will no longer ask me if it's going to replace a file for the Skyrim HD 2K textures. I know it's going to replace them, so I can hit yes to mod. If it finds other textures, for example, static mesh improvement mod, I can now choose, do I want to overwrite that? And if so, yes to mod. You could do yes to each texture if you really wanted to, but that could take some time. You could also do yes to all if you're absolutely sure you know which mods are getting overwritten. I recommend generally selecting yes to mod, because then you at least know which mods have been overwritten. You probably will not get these messages. And there you go. The mod has successfully been activated. Quickly check out my load order. I'm going to check out the plugins, and as you can see, I now have water plants, and water DB waves ESP files at the bottom of my load order. I'm not actually sure it matters where those appear in my load order, although I believe they probably, oh no, they don't even link to each other, so they're fairly independent of each other. However, if you followed my advice and watched my video regarding load order and boss, you might just want to close down Nexus Mod Manager and run boss just to see where it puts those files. Okay, and boss pretty much left them down at the bottom, so it looks like you could probably leave them exactly where they were installed. So now I'm going to start my game and see how this water looks. And there you go. The water mod has been installed. Now, you should run around and check a variety of different areas. Check out how the waterfalls look, how rapids look, and so on. Get a feeling for whether or not you like this mod. Check out things like the coastlines, the sea areas. Check out the little streams. They're surprisingly bad in the vanilla game, so this mod, especially the water mod, really does improve them quite a lot. And check out water in a variety of different circumstances, different weathers, for example. Different weathers, well, they affect the water in different ways. For example, the Pure Waters mod warns against the climates of Tamriel mod because misty weather sometimes affects the shorelines badly. I don't notice it that much, to be honest, so it doesn't bother me. Check it out to see if it bothers you. But as you can see, the water mod looks beautiful in this weather. Okay, so I've run around, I've checked out the water mod, seen all it's had to offer, and I now want to try out the Pure Waters mod and check that out as well. Before I do though, I am going to do something I do not want you to do. I'm going to repeat that. I do not want you to do what I am about to do. What I am about to do is save my game with the mod installed. Okay? I'm going to save the game with the mod installed. And I'm only going to do that because I want to show you something. Okay? So I'm going to assume you have run around and you've checked out the water mod, but you've not saved your game. Don't worry if you have, it's not the end of the world, but you don't need to do it. I'm just doing this to show you something. Okay, so back on my desktop, I need to first of all, of course, uninstall the water mod, the Water and Terrain Enhancement Redux. Now, one of the great things there, of course, is I've just uninstalled that, but all of those textures that I overwrit from Skyrim HD and from the Skyrim mod improvement, the Skyrim mesh improvement mod have been restored. So you see the advantages over and over to using a mod manager. Okay, anyway, so I've uninstalled it. Let's get Pure Waters installed. I'm going to install the main file. I'm going to install... Now, this is just telling me it's detecting the version I'm using is 4.3 and there is a 4.4 version. Believe it or not, the 4.4 version is the main mod. These were created for 4.3 and they're perfectly okay. So I want to select no so that it will install the mod normally. And the same is true for this. No, so it installs it normally. Okay, and then I go along to my plugins section, and once again, these are down at the bottom. But I am going to close Nexus Mod Manager and run boss to double check. I actually suspect this time it will move them. Actually, no, it left them fairly close to the bottom as well. So there you go. You can probably leave them where Nexus Mod Manager installed them. And back in game, there you go. Pure Waters on the coastline. Now, with the other mod installed, this would have actually had waves, which was very impressive, but this has got that beautiful clarity, really crystal clear water, which is nice in a completely different way. And honestly, even with climates of Tamriel in this misty weather, I still think Pure Waters looks absolutely great. So it doesn't seem to have any problems for me, or perhaps I'm just not noticing it. Anyway, I did make a save game, didn't I? And said I would explain why later. Well, I'm going to load it up now. I'm going to load that save. Now, you'll remember when I saved this, I had a different mod installed. When I do, it's going to give me this warning. This save relies on content that is no longer present. Some objects may no longer be available. Continue loading. I'm going to click yes. I will explain what has happened. When I made that save, I had the water mod installed, and that save knows it. It knows something has changed, and it is warning me that I may have some unintended consequences. However, as you can see, nothing really bad happened. In this case, I can actually tell you I have installed and uninstalled water mods on saves that have been saved with a mod installed several times and had no real problems. However, it is something you should pay attention to. I don't get that warning when loading this save. And the reason I don't get the warning is it did not have water installed at that time. There you go. And of course, if you decide you prefer water, you can just go along to the Pure Waters mod, deactivate using this, and reactivate Water and Terrain Enhancement Redux. It is that simple. So, hopefully now you've got a better idea of which water mod you want to install, and you're going to pick one and install it. But more importantly, from the point of view of this video, you know how to install mods, check them out, uninstall them, and check a new mod out without having any real problems. So you should feel a little bit more confident about trying mods out, trying them for a while, and then uninstalling. So now I'm going to rock that confidence just a little bit and give you a few warnings. Whenever you save a game, that save game has references to any of the plugins you have installed. And that may include objects that are in the world, it may include scripts that are running, and so on. And when you load a game that has references to a mod that you have uninstalled, it can have consequences. And I do say can. It will not necessarily have consequences. Now, certain mods are completely immune to this. For example, texture packs are pretty immune to this. They do not usually come with a plugin. And if it's just replacing a texture, it will not have any consequences. And there are some small mods, for example, a mod that adds a weapon, and if you uninstall it, that weapon will probably just disappear. Well, the worst case scenario, you had the weapon in your hand. When you load the game, your hand will be empty, but it will look like you're holding a sword. You switch to another sword, and that will fix that, no problem. So, in general, I would probably say 95% of the mods out there you can uninstall at any time, even if you have saved them. You will get a warning, as you saw I got, but it is probably okay. There are some mods where this is not true. There are some mods, for example, Palasov's Spinning Arrows, great mod, but for some reason, if I uninstall it now, I get some issues. It's probably some scripts that are left behind running. I could probably figure out how to stop that. I could probably figure out how to uninstall it if I wanted to. I actually don't want to. I like the mod. I'm going to leave it in. However, if you don't know what you're doing, you may have issues if you install a mod and then want to uninstall it later. It may have something left behind that will force you to keep that mod, and you should be aware of this. Quite a lot of the very useful mods actually use scripts, and those scripts continue to run once the mod has been uninstalled, which can be annoying. And a lot of mod authors, myself included, have started adding options in the mod configuration to deactivate. So for example, Immersive HUD, I can now iHUD active. If I deselect that, it now deactivates Immersive HUD, and all of the scripts get stopped, they get terminated. Now if I save my game, there are no scripts running. So if I uninstall Immersive HUD and then reload the save, I would still get the warning because the game would know I had Immersive HUD running. It would know it, but it doesn't know what's left behind. But because I selected that option, there will be no scripts left behind. They will have all been terminated. There will still be references to things though from Immersive HUD. So it's still there. Now I know the next question is going to be, so is it safer if I never uninstall a mod? And the answer is yes, but that's like me saying it would be safer if you never left the house because you won't get run over. Yeah, it might be true, but it's a little unnecessary. If you leave the house, just look both ways when you're crossing the road. Don't step out in front of moving vehicles and so on. Use some common sense. And the same is true of modding. If you're going to uninstall a mod, just use some common sense. After a while, you're going to get a feel for which mods should be uninstalled carefully and which you can just uninstall without thought. Check the mod author's page. I'm going to use Convenient Horses as an example because the mod author gives exceptionally good instructions on how to install and uninstall. Read the instructions and follow them. If they've given you some detailed instructions on how to uninstall a mod, follow them. It's probably good advice. If the mod has an MCM and mod configuration menu and one of the options is stop the mod or deactivate the mod, do that before you save. Do that, save your game, and then uninstall it. That's probably just a safer thing to do. Overall, most of the mods you find you could install, you could play for 10 hours, and then uninstall them and try new mods. That is almost certainly what you're going to do. It's part of modding. It's the whole fun of modding. Just don't go nuts. Okay guys, well that is it for this video. I really don't have any homework for you this time, other than perhaps going out and trying some different water mods. The next video is going to focus on textures and meshes. Meshes are the models that the game uses and ways to improve those, and also a few precautions you're going to need to take when doing that. So I hope to see you guys there, and until then, as always, have fun. A single story.